Hello everyone. Welcome to .NET Foundation channel and welcome to .NET Conf Noida 2020. So as usual, last year also our user group NCR Cloud and Code Techies organized .NET Core Conference. Last year we organized it offline, but this year, as everyone knows that because of this COVID-19 situation, all the events are happening online. So we are organizing this event online this year, and I will be having with me, I have Nitin and Abhishek Matre who will be speaking on various topics. So we can start with my topic, that is multi-platform Blazor application development. Let me share my screen and okay. So let's start with my session, which is multi-platform web and desktop development using Blazor. So when we talk about multi-platform development, usually people think about cross-platform development, which is the cross-platform development term is used for mobile, whereas multi-platform is used for desktop, different desktop environments. We'll talk about that later. So before starting, let me introduce myself. I am a certified Azure solution architect, a community speaker, and all my social media handles are Techie Rathor. I also happen to have a YouTube channel. I would love if everyone please subscribe to my channel. And then all the samples which I am giving here or which I'll be showing here is available on my GitHub account. So I'm Techie Rathor everywhere. You can find me just by typing Techie Rathor on Google. Okay, so the agenda will be, we'll talk about multi-platform development. So whenever we have to develop application for different type of desktops, web, when we are talking about web development, we know that we have to host it on some server. But when we talk about desktop development, we have to think about that what kind of OS we have to support. So like I'm using Mac OS, then I also happen to have a Windows system. 90% of people in India have happen to have Windows machines. Then many people have Linux machines also. So when we are creating an application, what all decisions we have to take, what is multi-platform decisions which we have to take, that we will be talking about in multi-platform development decision. Then we'll talk about introduction to Blazor, what is Blazor and all. Then we'll talk about third-party Blazor libraries, multi-platform Blazor architecture. Then I'll give you a code walkthrough of my multi-platform sample application, and I'll give you the links on how to get started with that. And probably I'll take on some questions using comments, so you can give ask questions in the comment sections, and our moderator will help us out with those questions, and I'll give you the answers. So let's start with what is multi-platform development. So multi-platform development is when we develop application for a web, but we architect it in such a way that it can be utilized on desktop as well as mobiles also. Yes, I said that usually the reason I avoided the term cross-platform, because many people say cross-platform also, but the reason I avoided cross-platform is that cross platform is primarily used for mobile applications. So that's the reason I avoided the term cross platform. I coined this term multi platform, where we support different desktop OSs, that is different desktop operating system, be it Linux, be it Mac, or be it Windows, as well as different like mobile applications also. The best example of multi platform would be PWAs. But the challenge with PWAs is that PWAs need to be hosted somewhere. Whereas when we develop a native application, that is your regular desktop application, that we can download and install on our machine. So for PWAs to do that, we need to host the PWA somewhere. The user needs to visit that site, and from there he can save it as a PWA. But I'll tell you how we can do PWA develop PWAs also using Blazor. So currently, this type of multi-platform development is only supported by Electron or Electron.net. So Electron is a framework which is which uses Node.js and other tools to give you, and Chrome engine to give you a web-based multi-platform application development. So you can use Angular or you can use Vue.js to develop desktop application which can be executed on various desktop platform, be it your Android, sorry, be it your iOS. I'm sorry, be it your Mac OS, be it your Windows OS, or be it your Linux OS. And the .NET port of Electron is called Electron.NET. Then there is Uno framework. So Uno framework is mostly used for mobile development. So using Uno, we can develop various mobile applications, be it iOS mobile application, be it Android mobile application, and be it Windows mobile application or UWP application, because the base is basically for Uno, the base application is a UWP application. So you can create Windows UWP application and then iOS and Android application. Recently, after WebAssembly came into picture, they are supporting WebAssembly based web applications also. So you can just use UWP and WinUI to create WebAssembly based web applications and mobile applications using Uno. So Uno also supports this, but Uno, I don't think Uno supports a native desktop application. So Uno doesn't support your Linux based application. So these are two frameworks right now. There are many frameworks, but these two are the more popular one. Whereas the most popular one is, of course, Electron. So let's talk about what is Blazor. Blazor is basically a free and open source web framework, SPA or single page application based web framework, a single page architecture based web framework to create web applications using C# and HTML. I'm sorry. So it uses the Razor syntax. That is, many .NET developers will be familiar with the Razor syntax, which is used in MVC, which is ASP.NET, be it whether ASP.NET MVC or ASP.NET Core MVC. The same Razor framework is used here in Blazor also. It uses the component-based architecture, just like your Angular, Vue, and other SPA frameworks. It uses the component-based architecture. Then it can run in two ways. Number one is client side, which is in browser with WebAssembly. So it supports your WebAssembly based hosting. And then there is server side, which can be hosted on your server. So we'll talk in detail more about this later on. So when we talk about Blazor full stack development, it works like this, that you have a backend which you can write in your .NET, Go, Node.js, Java, whatever, whatever technology you want to choose. You can write your backend code in that technology, and in the front end code, you can use Blazor to communicate between these technologies. So why you should learn Blazor? Why you should be interested in learning Blazor? The reason is, number one, C# is a fantastic language. As everybody know, C# is very popular language. It is being used by almost more than 1 million developers worldwide. So C# is another, and it's a type language. It is more popular than other languages. So C# is the reason. Then ASP.NET Core performance, especially this is in terms of Blazor server. So if you are developing Blazor server application, you don't have to worry about JavaScript. You have to just worry about HTML, CSS, and C# code. So you just need to, for formulating or for better designing your HTML pages, you will be using HTML and CSS. And then for doing all the interactions, instead of using JavaScript, you will be using C# to do that. Then you can share the code logic. So since we will be using C# to write the front end code, we can share our code logic, be it validation code, be it models, which is being used like DTO or data transfer objects, which is being used by your, which can be used by your front end as well as your back end. So you can do all those things using Blazor and C#. And it consolidates the front end and back end teams together. So right now, the very hot term is full stack developer, and full stack developer term is being used everywhere. So Blazor helps you become a full stack developer using .NET technologies. So Blazor, as I said, Blazor uses Razor pages. So here there are slight changes in Blazor. When we talk about Razor pages in Blazor, we don't have that .chtml syntax. .chtml extension. We have .razor extension. So all the Blazor pages are with .razor in extension, but the syntax remains same. So you just have to add, as you can see in the code, you just have to add @ and then you can use all the server side things like @code is to create a code block, @page is to create the page page thing, and then @count. You can see that @current count, it is used for using a variable which is declared in the server side. So to use the variable which is declared in the server side, you will be using @current count. Similarly, on click, you can see there is @on click. So this @on click means that this event will happen on the server side, or it will be when we talk about in Razor syntax, we talk about it will happen on the server side, but in Blazor syntax, we will say that this event will be taken care by C# code. Okay, so that's the benefit of it. Similarly, if you want to if conditions, or if you want to loop any kind of loop, you can use to do that also. So in simple terms, we can say that whenever we have to use our C# syntax, we will be using @ sign for that. Razor pages code behind. So usually by default, .NET doesn't provide you .NET, be it .NET Core or be it .NET 5. They don't provide you the support to create a backend page or code behind page. But people or Visual Studio gives you option to create a code behind page. What you have to do is you have to just create a class file and then name it as .razor.cs. So when you rename it as .razor.cs with the same name of the Blazor component, it will work. It will come as a code behind file. I'll show you when I show the code example. I'll show you how we can do that or how it is being done. Built-in components. So there are some, as I said, Blazor is basically based on a component-based architecture. So we can use some built-in components also in Blazor, which is like edit form is there, input text is there, then there are buttons is there. So you can see these kind of built-in component are all automatically transformed into HTML, and they will be using the CSS which is defined in your website typically directly. So it is rendered down to the HTML, and it has many helper properties which help you write the code in a better way. So you can see from example here, input text is rendered to an input text area is rendered to text area, input select is rendered to select, which is a drop down. In simple terms, input number is like input with type number, so we can use like that. Input checkbox uses the input with type checkbox. So all these details are there. So there are many components which are there in Blazor which are rendered to HTML, and these are being done automatically. Apart from that, and you can see how the navigation happens in Blazor is using URI. So URI based navigation is there in Blazor. Every component, every page or every thing, every variable or every page you create, every screen you create is a component. Basically, in simple terms, I would say that every screen you create is a component, unless and until you add this page thing to it. So once you add this page identifier to it, and just like you can see here, page, and then there is /counter. So once you add the page counter, it becomes a like URI. So it will come, you can see here in href that we have href then is equal to counter. So we can call this page using counter. So this URI based navigation is done. When you have to do the code behind navigation from the code behind, we will be using navigation manager. We have to inject the navigation manager on the page, and then once we inject the navigation manager, we can use navigate to code to use this code behind or to do the navigation from the code behind. So we can do that also. So navigation is done using URIs. So it is simple navigation, very much similar to your ASP.NET Core MVC. It also supports your dependency injection. As I said that Blazor is based out of, or it's kind of a subtype of your ASP.NET framework, and even the Blazor server works inside ASP.NET Core application. So basically, Blazor server application is an ASP.NET Core application. So it supports almost all the features which are there in an ASP.NET Core application. So it supports startup as well as dependency injection, and it also supports your HTTP client and all those things to call the web services and everything. So we can use startup.cs to register our services. If we are using WebAssembly, then we will be using program.cs to register our services. When I said that we can do everything using C Sharp, and we don't need JavaScript, but in some scenarios, JavaScript, if you are very good in JavaScript, or if you want to use JavaScript in your application, it's not that you can't use it. You can, of course, call your C Sharp code in JavaScript code in C Sharp, or vice versa using JavaScript interoperability. So JavaScript interoperability is available, which you can do by injecting this class IGS runtime, and then you can call any JavaScript method using this JS runtime code. So this is kind of the syntax to call JS runtime, which we can use to show alerts, or if we want to use some library which is written in JavaScript, we don't want to write that whole library, so we can use that library, for example, chart.js or d3.js. So any kind of library we want to use, we can use JavaScript to do that. Apart from this, there are many third-party components available. All the Blazor components are available as a NuGet. So many people, all the .NET developer know that nowadays NuGet is kind of base of component development. All the .NET components are available as NuGet. So if you want to use any particular .NET feature, you can add the NuGet package for that. For example, many of us use Newtonsoft JSON for doing JSON manipulation, and now with .NET 3.1 and .NET 5, we have system.json NuGet package, which is by default installed. So we can use system.json also for that. Sorry, json.text, something like that. I'm forgetting the exact name. So these kind of changes. So we can use all the NuGet packages which are available in Blazor also, provided they are .NET standard based NuGet packages, or when we are using right now .NET 5, so they are .NET 5 based NuGet packages, so that the compiler or the system automatically takes care of that thing. Then JavaScript, as I already said, that JavaScript can also be consumed using JavaScript interoperability. So we can consume all the JavaScript libraries using JavaScript interop. Then there are many Blazor specific libraries also. So just like ASP.NET or ASP.NET MVC, we have many component libraries which are very popular and used by people using in Blazor. So many component libraries are available in Blazor. A few of them is Blazorize, which is open source and free, and it has been ported to .NET 5 also. I am using it in almost all of my applications. I uh, thoroughly use Blazorize. The benefit of using Blazorize is that Blazorize supports to use different kind of CSS frameworks. So Blazorize helps using Blazorize. It's Blazorize is kind of an interface component framework. So you can use Material CSS also with this. You can use Bluma CSS also with this. You can use Bootstrap also with this. So that is one of the benefit of Blazorize. Similarly, there is Matte Blazor. Now, Matte Blazor is specifically for those people who love to directly use Material CSS. So Matte Blazor specifically implement Material CSS, and it has the all the components which uses Material CSS. So it is it is completely based on Material design. Then there is RADs and Blazor controls. So RADs and Blazor controls are free controls, but they are not open source. So they are basically, they are given by Radzen. So Radzen is a company, and Radzen is, apart from Radzen, Blazor controls are not only controls. You can use Radzen Blazor control in your application. Apart from that, Radzen is also a low code UI framework. So Radzen, sorry, low code UI tool. So Radzen is available on Mac as well as uh, this Windows, as a low code tool using which you can design and develop Blazor based application and Angular based application. So Radzen supports two type of development, that is Blazor based development and Angular based development. Of course, Radzen is paid. So Radzen tool is paid, but Radzen controls are free. So you can use Radzen controls as long as you want, but for using the Radzen tool to develop your or design or use low code method to develop Blazor application, you have to pay for their license. Then there are vendor specific tools like Infragistics, Syncfusion, Telerik, DevExpress. They all have created UI libraries for Blazor which you can utilize. So now let's talk about multi-platform Blazor solution architect, solution structure. So when we are developing multi-platform application, so as I said, multi-platform is which can be utilized anywhere. So the way we develop is, I took this idea from Xamarin. So when earlier I used to develop Xamarin applications, mobile applications using Xamarin and Xamarin Forms. So in Xamarin Forms, we have one common code base for UI, and then rest of there are project heads to call those UI, call that UI framework in those projects and then build them. So similarly, what I did is, like, we have created one shared UI, which is a single application, and then we have that shared UI can contain business logic also. It can contain DB access code also, or usually my preference is to keep the DB access code in API layer. So whenever we have to do the database database manipulation or database access, we will be doing it via the API, and the shared UI will have just the shared business logic code. And then it can be run on various applications, be it a website, be it a website as a Blazor server application, be it a WASM application, which is Blazor WebAssembly, be it a PWA application, that is Progressive Web App, or be it a desktop application. So for desktop application, I'm using a framework called Chromely. So when we are using Blazor desktop application right now, as you know, Blazor is available as a Blazor client side, as a Blazor WebAssembly and Blazor server, which works with SignalR. So there are various various frameworks using which you can create desktop application, like electron.net is also supported. Many people have created desktop applications using electron.net as well as Blazor. So they have used electron.net with Blazor to create cross-platform desktop application. Apart from that, the creator of Blazor, who is Steve Sanderson, he has also created a framework called Web Window. So Web Window is a framework which uses the native Chrome browser if it is installed on your local machine. So it doesn't ships the native Chrome browser along with your this thing along with the setup. It checks that if the Chrome browser is available on your machine or not. So if you are using Windows, so if you have Edge with Windows, you can utilize that. On if you are on Mac and if you have Safari, you can use Web Window. If you are on Linux and you have Edge with Edge with Chrome installed on your Linux, then you can create then you can use Web Window to create desktop application. So that is structure of Web Window, which you can use to create cross-platform application. This is being done by Steve Sanderson, but again, it is an experimental product. So I tried to use it, but then I avoided it. uh, Electron.net is supported by open source community, but to use Electron.net, you need to have Node.js installed on your machine, and I'm not very much fan of Node.js. I don't know how to use Node.js, and I haven't I have never used Node.js, so I went with Chromely. So Chromely is another open source framework for creating cross-platform desktop application using web technologies. So Chromely basically uses .NET Core to create cross-platform application, and it uses Chrome engine also. I think it uses internally, it uses Chrome and .NET Core to communicate and all those things. I don't know the exact intricacies of Chromely, that how it works internally, but I was able to use it successfully to run on both Windows as well as Mac to create cross-platform desktop application. The example I will be showing would be, of course, on Windows. I'll show. So that is one. Then there is Blazor mobile binding. So you can also create uh, you can also create cross-platform mobile applications using Blazor mobile binding. But again, Blazor mobile binding is an experimental product, so I won't suggest to use to create your product like mobile products to using Blazor mobile binding. If you love programming and if you love to try it out, you can go for it, of course, because internally it uses Xamarin Forms. The only challenge here is that you can't use your web UI to create mobile applications using Blazor mobile binding. You have to specifically create the UI for mobile separately for this. And as I said, that both of these are like it, you can use the Blazor style. So Blazor mobile binding basically gives you Blazor style development. So what is Blazor style development? I'll explain you when we talk about the when we go through the code. It's similar to your ASP.NET MVC, where you have layouts, and then using one common layout, it uses the single page architecture and all. So advantages of multi-platform Blazor application. So it gives you faster development cycle. You can create multi-platform application using single code base. The benefits are pretty much similar as your cross-platform development. It is cheaper as we can utilize all the Blazor resources. More code reusability. You can utilize, as I said, that you one single UI code you can utilize on creating desktop application as well as web application. So that is one benefit. Disadvantages are many of things are in the experimental mode. For example, the web window is an experimental mode. Then support availability is also a challenge. There are like Chromely people are very active in support. The developer of Chromely, he usually directly gives you support. He's in a different time zone. I'm in India, so there is time zone differences there, but these people are very helpful. But still, if you are creating a production application and if it is a mission critical application, then support is an kind of an issue for this thing. Even though when we are developing web application, that is fully supported. So even this architecture is used only used by Steve Sanderson for developing web application, be it WebAssembly or be it Blazor server. So for that you can do use this particular architecture, but for creating desktop application you need to think a bit little. That's the one thing. So let's talk about demo, how the Blazor multi-platform application app works. We'll talk about project overflow, how the project works, how the navigation works, and all those things. So I have opened this sample application. This is the sample application I use for all my blogs, Blazor based blogs, I would say. It is TR Blazor EX, which basically is an kind of a small form of Tekirat or Blazor example. So if you see here, Blazor components is our project, which is the UI project, which is the base, which is used throughout the application. And then we have this Blazor desk, which is for Blazor desktop application. Then we have Blazor PWA, which is for PWA application. Then we have Blazor WASM, as the name suggests, for WASM, and then Blazor web, which uses the web service. So now the way we develop this application is all the UI is here in Blazor component. So if you see here, we have the CB list, which is a checkbox list component, counter and all. Let me run this web application first. So this is the web application running. You can see here, from here, see Blazor server running at localhost 44389. So this is a web application. If you want to see, we can see in the tools also, like developer tools, and in the network tab, when I hit refresh, you can see here it is a Blazor server. So yeah, see this one, blazor.server.js. So this is a server application. You can see here in the counter is there, checkbox list is there. So all these are basically server application. And then once you can run this thing like this also. So this is our server application running. So now this same code, you can see, that's why I have given this title as common UI. So let me stop this thing and let me show you the desktop application, because I won't show the WASM or PWA because it's already run, like it already works. It works similar to your web application. I'll just show you the WASM itself, but let me show you the desktop first. So I'll set this as a startup project and see Blazor desk is our default project. When I run this thing, you can see here, and internally in Chromely, it's the support is like you can use Blazor server. So I'm using Blazor server for creating this Chromely application. So you can see this one, the same component is being used here also. I have to do some changes, like changes in the CSS, so that it should work properly, but still it is working as good as your. So you can see the buttons are like here. So these all changes, counter icon moved here, the checkbox list is like this, you can get the checkbox values. So all the example is working here. Okay, so this is our different application. Now let me explain the workflow of the Blazor application. How does the Blazor application works? So when we run our Blazor application in each of these projects, be it Blazor desktop, be it Blazor web, or be it Blazor WASM, each of the projects have one file which is called as your in Blazor WASM, it is called as index.html. So you can see here, this is index.html. In our Blazor web, we have this inside the pages, we have host.chtml. So this is the host.chtml. And in our this thing desktop application also, inside the pages, since I'm using the Blazor server Chromely, so that's why it is using host.chtml. So the host.chtml, we have all the code to call this thing, and from here this app is called type. You can see component type of app. So this app is basically the core, or the when we talk about single page architecture, so this is the page of your single page architecture. So this host.chtml basically internally call this app, which is basically the main component, the base component of your Blazor application. So when we talk about here, you can see here this app.razor. So this is your main component, which has the router, like it has the router, it handles the navigation and everything. So all these things are taken care by this app.razor. It takes care of your navigation. Then like how this navigation works is like you have your layout pages. So shared pages, inside the shared folder we have this. It's basically the structure. It not need to be mandatory to keep it inside the shared like folder, but it gives you a better structure to your code. Like when we are using MVVM, we put view models in view models folder, we put models in the models folder. So similarly, when we put the anything in the shared folder, it gives a depiction to other developer that okay, this particular component can be shared throughout the project. Okay, similarly we can also use other components throughout the project using the page directive or using the counter, but shared gives you a clear indication that okay, this is a shared component. So this main layout is your which is the main component which is being called by your app.razor. So if you see here, app.razor has this default layout is equal to main layout. So the difference between this main layout and the other Blazor components is that if you see the counter component, so here is the counter component and like index component is there. So all these are basically different component. Like this is the page as a CV list example. So all these, and I'm using, you can see I'm using the code behind in this case. So you can see here cblist example.razor.cs. So this is the code behind page. I have the whole component code written in the code behind. So this is the code behind page where I'm using this as a cblist ex base, and it is being inherited from component base. So when you create a razor page by default and you don't give, like even we talk about this index.razor or counter.razor, when we create these razor pages by default, they are inherited from the component base. Okay, that is the main thing. Whereas the main layout is basically inherited from layout component base. So this is the difference between the thing. Layout component base is the main container for all the other components. So that is the thing which is being used by in your app.razor. So in our app.razor, we'll see here, we can see here that default layout is main layout. Here we have mentioned that default layout is type of main layout. So layout, so we don't need to, it's not mandatory to name it as main layout dot razor. Many people name it as home dot razor also. So you can name whatever you want. The only thing is that to make it as the layout, you have to use this layout component base. So this is the flow from app.razor. You go to layout component base, which is layout like layout page, which is basically inherited from layout component base. And inside that, here is this @body tag. So this @body tags call the component which is being called here. So when we execute the code in the navigation page, if you see here nav menu, right now nav menu is in a separate page. When we use some framework, many frameworks don't like, they ask you to do the navigation in the same page itself. So you can do navigation on the same page itself. It's for better organization of the code, nav menu page is given here in the default template. But in my other example, if you see here, there is one another expenser open source project which is which I do development in live streaming. So you can see there I haven't used nav menu. I have just used the main layout in which I have kept the menu also. So here you can see that we have href counter, and this is the link. So whenever the user clicks on this link, this body this body tag is updated or routed by the component to which the href tag works. So that's how basically the router navigation or app.razor navigation works in Blazor. So this is the flow of your Blazor application. And as I told you, the structure is like this, that you have your this Blazor components which is being directly used in our desktop application, wasm application, and web application. So this is how a Blazor application works. I'll show you the code of my project which I'm developing as an open source project. It is an open source project I develop in live coding. So let me open that. Spencer, here it is. So this is a full-fledged project I'm talking about. It's kind of an product also. It's basically for managing your expenses. So you can manage your expenses and everything using this application. Although this is not complete, I am still developing it. So you can see here, Expenser, we have one API project, which is the backend API, which connect to the database and give you all the values from the databases. Then we have the desktop head, So if you want to use this application as a desktop application, you can use this. Then we have this models, which has right now this project is targeting, all my Blazor applications are targeting .NET Core 3.1. So that's why I'm using this application. Like that's why this is .NET Standard 2.0. I have updated it to 2.1 to use C# 8. So it's not like right now this is not the updated code. The updated code, since I use my Mac machine, so it's on my Mac machine, and it's there on GitHub. So from GitHub you can get the updated version of that. Then this UI is the same as the Blazor component. So this UI project, you can see here, I have this pages. Inside these pages I have different pages. Then you can see here inside the shared project, I don't have the navigation layout, so, or nav menu, because in my main layout itself I have implemented the nav layout also. So everything is implemented in the main layout itself. So I won't run this project because this is not the latest code. But yes, you can see here I have used the CSS and all, and you can see this component here I'm using Blazorize. As I said that I use Blazorize very extensively, I'm using Blazorize in this project, and these are the components of Blazorize. But again, the layout is being inherited from the layout component base. So layout component base is your main layout, which like kind of host, or which is kind of a container for all the Blazor components. So this is how your I can say this is how a real world application look like. Apart from the UI head, we have the models also, which can be utilized in the UI head as well as the API. So this is the code reusability benefit which I was talking about, that we can use the, not only we can reuse the UI code, we can also reuse the models code also. So this is basically, this was a simple walkthrough through a Blazor application. Now let's get back to our PPT. So I explained you how the navigation works, how I can share the UI logic between the platforms, and how the Blazor project workflow works basically. So how can you get started with Blazor development? So to get started with Blazor development, you will require Visual Studio 2019 with ASP.NET web development workload selected. So workload is the new term which they started to use after the new setup they provided with Visual Studio 2017. So you have the option to select different workload. A workload is basically a collection of components to do a particular kind of work. So if you want to do desktop development, you will select the desktop workload. If you want to do web development, you can select the web workload. That is Visual Studio setup thing. So in Visual Studio 2019, you can do that. Then official doc site is blazor.net, or you can go on docs.microsoft.net, and from there you can do that. When we talk about web window, you can see the source code of web window from Steve Sanderson GitHub page, which is available like on GitHub, Steve Sanderson's MS and /web window. Similarly, for Chromely, you can get Chromely apps /Chromely. And again, as I said, Chromely, similar to electron.net, supports creating cross-platform desktop applications using web technologies. Then there are many community documentation available also. So awesome, if you just type awesome plus the technology, you will get a list of all the community documents of that technology. So for Blazor, there are awesome Blazor by Adrian Torres and Stephen Tree Kramer. So these two listings are kind of a gist of all the Blazor resources. It has courses, it has videos, it has all the open source libraries listed there. Matt Blazor, Blazorize, you can whatever you want to see, all the open source material is there on these awesome pages. So that's all from my side. Thanks a lot for patiently listening to me and watching me. I'm open for questions. I think I don't have much time for questions. I have just 2-3 minutes left for questions. So I'm open for questions. Luis, can you please set me up on the main screen? Let me stop sharing my screen, and then probably stop sharing. Must we know JavaScript for Blazor? No, we don't need to know JavaScript for Blazor. We can, you must know C Sharp for Blazor, but you don't need to know JavaScript for Blazor. So you can, if you know C Sharp, you can do Blazor development. You can see many of my videos where I have explained like you how you can do Blazor development using C Sharp only. You don't need to know JavaScript for Blazor development. Okay, so I think we are done for now. Next session is given by will be given by Nitin. So I'll wait for Nitin. Thank you.
Hi, Ravi, and thanks a lot for this wonderful session and everything, every information that you shared with us.
You're
I
welcome,
hope
Nitin.
I'm audible.
Yeah, you are pretty much audible.
Okay. Okay, first, thanks a lot. So we should start from here, and let me jump to my Visual Studio without taking much time. And let me start. Let me tell you what my topic is. So if you have seen the agenda for today, so the topic that I'm going to explain you after this wonderful session like of Ravi. So as in this industry right now, we are jumping into a new era of ASP.NET Core Blazor. And from the past, whenever we are started working on a modern web application development, so NuGet Package Manager is doing such a wonderful job in terms of Microsoft technology stack. But if you came to the industry where all the modern application work like I would say Angular, I would say React, or many others. So you have a beautiful library of npm packages, I would say. So in that npm packages, if you will come up to the browser, there will so many packages available for you just name it any other thing and you will find out at npm. So today my talk over it, like how you can basically use some open source or maybe some other npm packages directly into your blazor application. So without wasting much time, so here I just created a basic application. It's a Blazor application using with Blazor Wasm. So if you need to create it, which is very simple, I hope you everybody knows about it because Ravi had told everything about Blazor, how you can get a start, what should be the project structure. Now the thing is came in like in my mind because we have so many already developed and supported by so many other communities, beautiful npm packages. So if we need to use some of them into my blazor application, so can we do that? So the answer is yes, perfectly we can use it. So in blazor, we can write anything that we want to write over the browser directly using c sharp. But if something comes to your mind or some specific packages, if your customer or if your client need from you, like I need to use this calendar, I need to use this gug, I need to use this grid, which is already has been deployed with so many other project in their architecture and they are comfortable with it. So instead of wasting so much time into writing a new application or new code into your, I would say, into your C sharp or some other technologies, I would say you can directly use any other npm packages. So that was a challenge that I was facing in my previous project. So I would suggest you to do, you can directly use it. So how you can use it, there's so many blogs directly available. And I'm really inspired with the blog by Brian Lagunas, which is a very beautiful blog over there. So you can basically refer that also. But here I would show you how easily you can do that. So the first thing that you have to do, first you need to create a simple or a blazor application, so which I created just for a demo over here. If I'll show you how it's look like, so I can show you it's a pretty simple empty application that come with a default template of counter. So you can just check it out how it's looking like. So this is simply a browser application which going to be open in this tab, and it will has all the default like counter or maybe the other tabs. So uh, Here it is. So as we have, this is a default application provided by our Blazor template. So I'm going to close this, and suppose I need to use some npm packages over here. So what the steps you have to follow? So the first step you have to follow, just go into your browser and find a sorry, not in browser, in your solution explorer, and find a location where you want to install and where you want to set up your npm package. So the first thing you should require, which is just an npm directory where you can deploy all your npm or maybe the node available. So I'm just going to create just a simple np JS folder over here. You can simply name it as per standards of your project architecture. I just simply create it. So now what I want in this. So the first thing that I'm going to do with this directory, which is I'm going to set up my npm repository over here. So the first command that comes to set up an npm repository inside any other directory, which is npm init. So what we will do over here, we just need to go in my command prompt with a specific task. So I'm just going to open this path in my command prompt, and now simply I do that, just npm init hyphen y. So I'm just going to initialize first npm repository over here. So once I'll press enter, it will automatically install, and it will automatically create a, you can say, the base for me where I can set up my all the npm packages. So as you can see on over my screen, here is a default, here's a default package.json settings are there, like a package name, maybe npm.js, the version and the description. You can edit them in your file directly. So where it is, so if you come back to your Visual Studio, and if you will extend this particular folder, you will find this file over here. So with so you do not have to change anything right now. I'll show you step by step everything. So once you do that, now the second thing came into this picture, which is we need someone who can bundle, or who can basically bind all the JavaScript files all together and can provide me a build file that I can directly use in my Blazor application. Because simply it's very simple, like any other npm package that we are going to use over here, they probably they might be written into TypeScript, they may be written into JavaScript, or some likely some other specific languages. So what you have to do, you need you can say any kind of bundler who can basically build all the things together for you and can provide you a build file for that. So as in this industry, there's a name that is we call webpack, and webpack is popular in this market to do this specific job. So what we have to do, we just need to install webpack, and webpack basically at the runtime, whenever this application will be executed over my browser, it will provide me a specific bundle for this. So what I can do, I can simply go back in my you can say command prompt with the same specific path of this repository folder. So I can come back here again, and I can just simply write npm install space webpack space webpack cli and save to the same dev environment. So once I'll press enter, you will see it will automatically install all the webpack dependencies, and this webpack dependency will help me out to to have a beautiful communication between my open source or maybe some other npm packages with my Blazor application. So once it will be done, we need to go again in my package.json, and we need to have some specification for this output file. So as you can see over my screen, so it already installed the Webpack version 5.10.0 and also the Webpack CLI 4.2.0. So now we are done with Webpack. We need to come back in my application, and simply we have to go into this package.json. And what we need to do over here right now, so as there is a section that is we call scripts. So any script that you need to define, any script that you want to be executed whenever your application going to be execute, so you need to simply you need to specify over here. So what I did, so if I can show you, I hope my fonts are visible, properly visible to you. Let me explain you what I did over here. So I just mentioned a tag which is build over here. So once we will be writing a command which is just a build, so on the build a specific command, what it will do, it will enable webpack, and webpack will find this particular file as in my business logic, and it will bind that particular file as an output bundle, and the output path will be over here. So as we know, in ASP.NET Core architecture, we have a folder over here which is www root, and here we will have our output file, which is right now, which is not over here. But whenever we will be defining this command build, it will generate an output file named as index.bundle.js. From where? From this specific path. So that means we should be required this particular file at this particular folder to be placed, so that it can go there, it can find out all the logic from this specific path, and can generate an output for this name at this specific location. So let me do it. So once I'll do that, let's just save this, and after this we need to go in my application in the same folder in npm.js. I'll do that, right click, add a new folder over here simply named as src, as I mentioned in my script, src. So simply I just put it for source code, and from this source code it will going to find an index.js file. So let me do that again. So add new item. So in the new item tab, you can simply go into a search box, and you can find JavaScript files. So once you'll do that, you just simply name it index and press enter. It will save a index.js file in my src file. So that is going to be my logic file, where I can even write some js interop options if I want to call in future, like I want to execute some or js functions directly from my c sharp code. So even we can use this file for these kind of stuff. So let me close this, and let me come back in my a command prompt. Now I am done with everything that I require to set up an environment. So what I'm going to do in the next step, so the next step will be find a specific npm package which you want to use in your application. So I have a beautiful package along with me here. I can show you, which is a web component by Infragistics. So just for a demo, just a specific demo, I'm going to use this particular Guke just to showing some kind of you can say some kind of meter information, some kind of, you can say some kind of like you can say percentage maybe, or maybe some kind of, you can say suppose there is a beautiful chart comes to the Google whenever we have some elections. So like for different two parties, how many number of seats they have. So these kind of stuff you can use this particular. So Infrastatistics has beautifully designed this. So I'm going to use the same web component. You can use Infrastatistics official document for this specific, or maybe some other beautiful charts, grid, or whatever you want to use. But right now I have simply a command to show you, so that we can simply install it as an npm package in this specific directory or the location that we have generated recently. So I simply just write it npm install ignite ui web components core. From there, what I want to use, I just simply want to use ignite ui web components, which is a queue. Just that's it. So once I'll do that, it will load all its dependencies, and it will create a node modules which is already in my application. Once I did that npmi, so it will automatically install all its dependency from directly from Infragistics CDN to your computer. So like it's done, and it's added 3 packages. So once you will be done with it, now what we want some kind of a script that can be imported, and that can be used to import its dependency directly from this npm package. It's quite you can say quite a good script. So sorry, I just click on my teams tab. Okay, so let it be closed. So here we can come into this index.js file, and you need simply a script. As we know, if we are going to use any other um, npm package, so it has some default classes to be imported in your application, and from there you can just instantiate them into your application. So simply I imported my module manager igc. It stands for Infragistics web components, all the modules from the specific locations. You will find this script simply over Infragistics website in official documents. And not even this, you can use any other or you can say npm application npm package directly in your application, simply using the same step that I'm going to show you. So once you will do that, it will load all the dependency at runtime in your application. Now what you want just simply a code. So for that code, you can either you can simply visit the official document, like how it's look like. As you can see, this was the code, and this is just a code that you need to show this kind of animations or the screens at your Blazor application if you want to show them. So I have a file here where I want to use. So now you have two options. First, either you can create a new Blazor component, or you can specify the GUG over there. Or if you don't want to create a new you can say Blazor component, what you can do, you can use any other existing Blazor components from there. So like we have an index which is a first page. So if I'll go and if I'll edit, so here is a survey prompt title, so I can replace this with my GUG code. So simply I just put it this GUG, which is simply just which is just having an ID and height width, a simple value, a default value 25. You can increase it according to your condition. Suppose I let me made it 32. So simply you can do that. What will be the time interval in this specific animation? So it can define by 5 or any other specific number. So here is a meter value. So what values you want to print at this particular GUG? So I just put it 0 as a minimum value and 100 as a maximum value. So there is a color range. So what will be the color range? So I provided three colors of over here, like as you can see, red, yellow and green. And for there I set it their starting point and their ending point. So this starting point and ending point comes into this minimum and the maximum range. So from 0 to 30 it should be red, 30 to 60 it should be yellow. So similarly you can use any other components if you want to check out or if you want to run them. So simply I just did it. So now what you have to do before running this application, see, we are done with almost everything. Now what we require, so first thing, as I told you, we cannot directly use this package. We cannot directly use this package from, if I'll show you from here, if I'll show you all the hidden files. So we have all the node modules over here. So directly we have all the capability over here for Ignite, but we cannot, here you can see. But if you want, so you cannot directly use it. So what we want to build this application first, so that my webpack, which I installed in my application just a few minutes back. So what I can do, I can ask my webpack, like webpack came into this screen, build all the JS file available in my node modules, which is required to be used in my application, and generate and build output. So I can request to my webpack. So for that, at the same specific where my webpack has been installed on the same folder, I can simply write npm and run the build command. And you know that we have specified this build command. Let me press enter. It will take a few seconds to build that output. So once you'll do that, and you know that like in your package.json, you have specified whenever you will run this command, build command, your webpack will get this file, and this file was here, this file, and it will bundle it, and it will generate a build output for it with the named index.bundle.js at this specific output. So let me come back to my screen, to my command prompt, and once it will be done, you will find this specific file to be there at that place which you have mentioned. So as you can see, with some warnings, maybe the warning as I'm using the updated one. So if I'll go here, so into the JS folder, see what we did. So this is the same build file, which is generated by my webpack. If you will open it, you will see it's a minified file without wasting any such number of lines, number of spaces. It's a very lightweighted build file that has to be deployed on my server while we are going to deploy this application. So this generated this output file. Now, so this was the first step before running this sample. So this was the first step, and now we are good to go, and we can directly run this application. But before that, what we want, whenever my customer uh, will load this page or make a request to my server to execute this page, we require some kind of pre-built command so that they can check its dependency, and it can generate, if it's a first request, so it can generate its build file. So like if you will run this file right now, if let me try, if we are going to run this file right now, so what could be the output? Excuse me. So we can wait for a while. It's the first time it's loading is my application. So once it will be done, so here we are at my first page here, but you are not going to check, you are not going to have any output over here. So what things we have to do? Simply we have to do two things. First thing we are missing, which is importing my index JS file into this reference, which we should do before running my application. And the second thing, let me do that first. Here in my CSPROJ file of this project, we can set a target. We can set a target on its pre-built. So whenever this project going to be built, I have just pasted this code over here. You have to write it. If you want, you can take a snapshot or whatever, you can take a note of it. So what we want to execute two commands. So the first command that we want, so the first command, which is npm install, so that if it's a first request of this project, so it can check whether all the dependencies are there into this npm js folder or not. If not, so it can basically install them. Or if it's already done, so it can jump to the next command, which is npm run build. It's a generate a build for that, and you know that what will happen on this build command. It will generate, it will call the webpack, and webpack build all the bundles together, and it will generate an output file into my www root folder, and at the hierarchy of it in the js folder, index.build.js. So it will generate all these files there. So let me save this file, let me come back. So this was not reason right now. So the reason was we have to import, this bundle file. Which bundle file? The bundle file that we have generated over here. We need to import this bundle file here in my HTML file. So this index.html, as Ravi in my last session, in the last session already shows you, like this will be the final body that has to be rendered over the client browser, and here will be your components will be loading as per their navigation request. So just after this blazor web assembly script, you need to put that reference from js folder. It need to be load this index.bundle.js. So once it will be done, so I hope we are good to go. And if I run this application, so as per my expectation, there should be some output. Let's hold for a while. So I run my application. It must be run npm install, as you can see here. And again, after npm install, it's generated npm build. So you can see, you can check out the output command. It's called the npm build, and in the npm build, it's called webpack, and webpack found this particular file, and it generated an output over there. And after that, that file must be loaded here at my index page. So once everything will be done and it will be ready to load my page, you will have its output in the current browser. So it's going to be load, and are we okay? Let me check out where we are. Let me check out if it's working. Yes, it's perfectly working. And if you can see here, it's simply showing you the value that you have put it over here, and that was simply 32. So as you can see here, it's just showing you the current output of our application, and this is an output that we built. So we refresh the last one, and this is the new one. So you can see it's beautifully working. There is no challenges, and it was just an open source npm package that was available. We just imported it in my application, and we just use it. Now there is a bonus point for this particular session. We just use this particular npm package in my application, but what if we need to communicate with this package, because it's an open source npm package, and it might be written into javascript, and we are writing my code, my business logic over here in this application into c#. So what if I need to communicate, what if this value should be changed as per some database request, what if we have to call some runtime event, and they need to execute some code to update its value. So if you have these kind of questions, so this is a bonus point for this particular session. What we can do that we can have a communication between this GUI and my C sharp code. So for that, let me come up over here and we can define some you can say buttons over there. Simply we can call some C sharp code on that button click, and that event can directly call some JavaScript function. So here we can establish a connection which is JS interop, which is you can say by default available in all type of Blazor application. So what we should do, so making a JS interop connection in this application, so first thing that we required, we need to import its dependency. import depend we So now I'm going to importing a dependency for JS runtime. So simply you have to inject a dependency and you don't have to worry about its instance, because as you have mentioned over here, inject, so the default dependency injection architecture of this Blazor application will get you an instance for this runtime environment of JavaScript by default as with this variable, instance variable. So you don't have to worry about it, you will get it by default. So now the next step should be, we should require some button and we should require some code where we can write it. So as it's a default component, so we didn't divided this component into, you can say, the code behind a strategy. It's an inline coding pattern by default, as Ravi already shows you how you can create your components. So I'm not going to show you that, but we can write my code directly over here in this application using the code tag. So we can use this to write my logic over here. But I would not suggest you to do the same thing for your real-time applications or maybe the enterprise applications, because your code can be a heavy code can be a larger code at the runtime. So I would suggest you to divide that code and into different parts, so you can read my own blog for that, like how you can divide your business logic from your razor components, which is simply will give you multiple ways to do that. You can say code behind, you can say the oops strategies, that is we call abstraction, anything you can use it. Okay, so we can use this code tag to call some JavaScript functions, but before that we need to place some button on the button click where we can find out or where we can call some specific button. So let me create a button over here. So just after this GUI over my HTML page, on the razor page I would say, so I just put it a button, and on this specific button on click event I just call a property which is on click. So this on click should be a function in this code attribute, which is hasn't been defined yet, but I'll do that. So I just put it a button, and on this button click I will call this specific button click. So you can create a button click like simply void on click. If I'll say, like, what you can do, you can simply write void and on click, and this error will go on, because this handler requires a function to be loaded, which we have just recently defined. So we will call this specific button, but not right now. And I would say, if you can assign async behavior to this particular button, so that we can call asynchronously all my other function that we are going to writing over here. So simply what we require now, we require a function who can find this control from this particular DOM element with this particular ID RG, and can set its value dynamically that you will provide over here. So for that you can simply place some sliders over here, you can place some text box, any other input value, any other input provider, that's completely based upon you, what you want. But I would say we require this function first, so let me write a function for it. So now where this function should be, as I mentioned earlier, we have this file where we can write all my business logic. So this is a file index.js, and my webpack will automatically render it as a bundle and will do the required or the needful. So I just mentioned a event over here which is simply windows.update. So whenever my windows will be in its update mode, it will just directly call this anonymous function with a specific value that will be provided by my event handler. So whenever this function will be called, So simply we can call this particular RG, and what is it RG will contain in the at the runtime. So using the JavaScript element, that is we call document, and from this document we will find an event with this particular ID, which is RG. As I shows you, we have a control with an ID property as RG, and we need to change its ID, so which is containing 32 right now. So I will set it rg dot value. The value will be provided by the customer or maybe the user. So this is just an update value function, and when this update value function will be called, so we have to call this update function over here in this particular. So if I want to write it and if I want to call this function, so I would say we can simply make this function asynchronous, and we can use this JS runtime variable to call this anonymous function, or maybe I would not say anonymous because it's having a name. So update value, so it will call this update value function. An update value function has a reference of that particular function that I shows you. So with a parameter, and the parameter value just a 60, or you can change it if you have some input control over here, like likely you have some text boxes, you have some sliders over here. So what you can do, you can simply get their values from them, and you can just pass that value directly over here. So this is simply how you can do that. So now on this async function, it will use this JS runtime. As I tell you in the beginning, you don't have to worry about the instance. Our Blazor dependency injection container DIC will provide it, and we have a predefined function over here, that is we call invoke void async. Why void? Because it doesn't returning anything, it's just assigning some property. So what function should be? It should be update value. So if I'm not wrong, let me build my application again. I hope I did everything that which is required. And once this after build, or we can run this application, just let me run this application. So whenever it will be done, we can come back to my browser, and once it will be done with the build process, so it will going to show me a button over here. I hope my system is taking much time than it's required, so you don't have to worry about it. It may be I have some updates or Windows updates to be installed, that's why my system is taking bit time. So once it will be done, we will be ready to launch it. Yes, build succeeded. And if you want to try this out, so let me run this application, and either you can just open it or you can go back to the previous one and you can use that. Meanwhile, it's loading. So this was from me, and yes, here it is. So we have this beautiful gig which is already there with the default value 32, and we had tried some, you can say, some sort of code that this button click event can change its value. So let me just do that. 1 2 3, and it's click. So let's say you can see here, on just a button click is change its gig value. So simply on your Blazor events, you can call some kind of JavaScript functions, and you can simply use your other npm JS packages. So simply it was just how you can use your any other NuGet package manager. You can say it's a node package manager every time, because we are more familiar with NuGet package. So every time npm, I just call it NuGet. So excuse me for that. So it's a any other node package manager if you have, so you can just directly call from there, and you can use any other open source libraries from there, simply like this. So I would say this was from my side. And before wrapping this session, I would just let you know, if you want to check out any other components by Infragistics, you can simply visit Infragistics, and they have beautiful controls for you can say for Blazor, for Angular, for any other application that you want to use, with a beautiful support, with the priority support 24/7. So you can just visit out. Now it's up to the host. I would say let me stop sharing my screen, and I'm open for the questions. If you have any other questions, so you can simply go there and you can ask me. So let me stop sharing my screen.
Thanks, Nitin. Thanks a lot.
Thank you
So,
so.
as per plan, we had planned to take a break at this time, but now we have just one session left because due to some personal emergency, Gaurav Arora will not be taking session today. So we have Abhishek Matre who will be talking about me open the plan here. Sorry, I forgot. So we have Abhishek Matre who will be talking about this thing. Give me a second.
Azure front door.
Yeah, Azure front door. I'm sorry, Abhishek, I
No problem.
forgot it. So, so Abhishek will be talking about Azure front door, and Abhishek has been added here. So I'll give it to Abhishek now. Abhishek, take on.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you very much. And without delay, we have already spent two good sessions, and in fact, both the sessions were very, very useful and very informative. Although I am not a person of using Blazor and all, but I loved both the sessions. Thanks, Ravi. Thanks, Nitin. So I'm starting my session, and probably I can share my screen first so that we can start talking about the Azure front door. Hopefully, you can see my screen. If yes, then please let me know. Right. Okay. So I'm going to start with the kind of little presentation first to understanding of Azure front door. I'm sure the people who have joined this particular online streaming may have some idea of Azure front door. If not, then it's for you. We can understand this through the little presentation. So Azure front door is a networking service which is basically given by Microsoft and managed by Microsoft itself thoroughly. There are four kind of areas of connectivity indeed. Number one is connect, second is protect, third is monitoring, and fourth is deliver. In the connect side, we can go we can opt virtual network, virtual WAN, express route, VPN, and DNS. These kind of services are provided by in terms of connect. So if we talk about the protect, there are DDoS protection, firewall, NSG, web application firewall, VNet endpoints at all. In third one, whereas the monitoring is where we have Microsoft Watcher, Network Watcher, Express Route Monitor, Azure Monitor, VNet, Terminal Access Point. And at the last, we have the fourth connectivity delivery is Deliver, under which we have CDN, front door. Today we will talk about this, and Traffic Manager, Application Gateway, Load Balancer. So, little bit about front door before starting with the presentation, before starting with the technical implementation side of it. So, what is front door? Front door is actually the newly inbuilt integrated service which is provided started in the general availability by the Microsoft in 2019 only. So it is a very new kind. Probably you have heard about load balancer and other kind of web application firewall kind of terminologies earlier in past. So this is the new term. It is a scalable and secure entry point for fast delivery. The main purpose of this service is to give the fastest delivery, and moreover, it is globally available. Somebody may ask like, what? Why we have another service when we have load balancer in place? So there are differences. Then only this new service has come, and the primarily used for the better performance. If I'm saying the better performance, why we are saying the better performance? Because high availability is the major factor of this Azure front door service. If we say high availability means if there are multiple instances of any web application is located on multiple geographical locations, and if certain particular application is down for any reason, xyz reason, so instantly within a couple of seconds time another instance of the web application would take charge, and that's why you will not feel the big glitch in this. It is an application delivery network as a service. Now, I think I must show you before this one this web app. Here, this article is written on the Microsoft's blog, where it clearly shows Azure existence of the Azure front door global footprint, whereas it was designed when initially it was started, but because it is more than 1 year now, so the data could be changed, like 100,000 k plus instances are available for its existence. You see the small blue dots. These small blue dots are the point of presence, means the edge servers where the replication could happen instantaneously. It means if you have defined your application somewhere, if you are deployed your application particular reason, So those reasons would be automatically synchronized and make themselves available with the help of the point of presence. Okay, coming back to that presentation, right? So it is an application delivery network. The diagram I have shown, that is a kind of delivery network, uh, complete delivery network, whereas it has the connection, inbuilt connection from one network to another network internally, and Microsoft manages it completely, fully managed by Microsoft Azure. It has a load balancing capability for the web application. In my initial statement, I was saying, like, when there is a load balancing service available, why do we need the network front door service separately? Because load balancer, it's again a kind of routing solution, and front door is a kind of routing solution. But the big difference is, load balancer generally works on your DNS kind of domains, whereas front door works globally, number one. Second is, it does not require any DNS, and it works on the HTTP and HTTPS both. Next is for high availability during global failover. The main purpose of front door is to, when your particular service is getting failed, how come you can mitigate, how soon you can mitigate that particular issue with another different upcoming or maybe standby web application, so that your failover will not take much time. You can come out of that fail situation. Internally uses anycast protocol. This is a very new term, anycast protocol. The purpose of the anycast protocol is to, it will find it out the immediate turn, or maybe immediate reference of another existing instances, so that it can replicate from the failed instance to the new working instance. Offers always on website available. There is a feature in Azure, which there is a switch, in fact we can say, always on, so that it automatically in the background, it always searches for your health probe. It checks for the health probe, whether the application is successfully working or not. We'll probably take it in more advance, look at it in more advance when we'll do little practical on this. Next, it provide transport layers, because it works on the transport layer protocol and SSL offload. The good thing about the front door is, you need not to be worried about a lot of other extra things which need to be published in terms of WAF or maybe the load balancer. It automatically filters the many of the such a traffic which is not really required for the applications, for the security purpose. Now, AFD is Azure Front Door, supports HTTP and HTTPS, both connectivity between in front door environments and backend. Now, there are terms like front door environments and backend. We'll look at it in while we'll do the demonstration. These are the services provided by the Azure Front Door, like accelerate application performance, increase application availability, and a smart health probe. So here, the health probe is a inbuilt internal service by the Azure Front Door, is which regularly and intermittently or periodically checks for the health of your application. When it you can set the window time, or maybe the duration of your health probe, how long you wanted to keep the servers silent for taking a break for the next health checkup. So you can increase the size or decrease the size as per your convenience. URL based routing is also possible here. We'll look at it when we'll do the demonstration. Multi-site hosting, URL redirection, session affinity, and blah blah other things you can see here. Right? Shall we move? Okay, this is a typical diagram. It's the simplest diagram, which says users may request to the front door, besides of directly pointing out to the application. The user do not know about what the application is, where it is actually residing really, and front door can manage all the things in being a middle layer between the application and the users. So your point of contact is the Azure Front Door would be. Now, if you see this diagram, there are /login /booking /booked. It means these are the URL based routing has happened. Whenever the request would come from the user through the custom domain, and if there is any /login is found, /booking is found, /booked is found, probably the request would come here to East US web application. I assume you people know about how to create the web applications and what the purpose of web applications. And this time we have, because for the front door we need at least of two different web application existence of the replication of the same application to at the two different places. Here we have deployed application at East US and West US, right? Two different regions. In case if this region is getting filled, automatically in a certain period of time, the gap, this particular instance would be enabled and it will take a load, and therefore the user will not be in much in trouble to access the application for a long time. In case both the applications are finally accessing to the Cosmos DB, this is just a hypothetical example. I mean, your diagram could be very different than this because it is the simplest one. Assuming like both the applications are reaching to the Cosmos DB in background. So East US and West US both are accessing this common Cosmos DB. Little tricky. Some more advancement in this diagram. Now this diagram says you have various different features like AAD, you have CDN, you have DNS, you have various other application components are available here given by the Microsoft. So we can understand this way. Like here is the user. User is actually accessing front door and maybe simultaneously can use the CDN. And based on the front door would decide where to send your request. And the good thing is with the front door is it automatically sends the request to the nearest available available existence of the application, which is responsible in which is not basically closed. So just an example, I assume like my first request would go here and continuously the request is going to this server, and because of my region is basically nearest to this particular region where it is, this is the active region, and in case this application is down, then only my request would start going to this particular region, which is the standby region. And internally these are the different the services offered by the Microsoft, and it may be the very different, right? And automatically at the end you can see the geolog replication could also be possible. In this case you can activate this as per your need. Moving to next, a single difference I've actually noted down between the three different services, although there are many, but for this demonstration this is more than enough. Front door has the global existence. It has the scope global and works at the OSI layer 7th. It means application layer. It works. Whereas the traffic manager works globally, but works on the transport layer. Application gateway works regionally only and works on the OSI 7th layer, which is application layer. I mean, the very closeness between application gateway and front door is they are working on the 7th layer of OSI, which is application layer. But big difference is it works globally, it works regionally, right? Moving next. So this is the last, and I think we should move to the demonstration part. Right, this is my Azure portal. I have already logged in into my portal here, and you see currently there is nothing much in this. So first of all, what we need to define two different web applications. There are various ways to define the create the web applications. Maybe you can use the Azure CLI. You can use the various other things like ARM template. You can also use the interface, Azure interface directly. So it is the simplest way to create the Azure application interface. So I'm going and creating the web app, writing web app service. So I choose app service. Currently, I don't have any app service available. So I need to create at least two web applications for this demonstration for actually using the front door, right? I'm using my subscription. I'm creating a new resource group like web app, right? It is available. And application one is conference 2020 EU East US, for example. Yeah, this is available. And any of the code stack you can use. I may use a ASP.NET web app. And central US, no, because I've chosen East US, so I can choose East US. Yeah. Then you can define your Windows plan, and that is altogether a separate story you need to understand before creating the web application. I assume you people know about this very well. So if you wanted to create, by default it is giving this web app plan, but if you wanted to create a new one, you can go and you can select the SKU and sizes based on your choice. But I'm going with the default settings, going to monitor and enabling the application insight. Yeah. So I'm enabling the application insight so that I can see the telemetry and the traffic load on the application. So the reason is this. Next, going to tag, and I can say conference 2020. Tags are really very useful for any any resources you are going to provision. Ideally, people use it for the costing and billing purposes, and somebody may leave it blank if they really don't know about the text. So it is just reviewing what the content I have actually passed to it, and let's see the result. Yes, so it is okay, and now I can create. It may take a couple of seconds to initialize my complete deployment, and once it is done, it will come back to me. Meantime, I can talk more about the pricing part of front door. So this is the page. Although if you wanted to get more detail of Azure front door, you can simply go to the browser and write azure.com/front door, and you will be landed up to this URL, which will be the beginning, initial page of the Azure front door. You can go to the documentation part, although you have various other things like overview, solution, product, and if you wanted to read more about Azure front door, you can go to the documentation part, and you see uh, there is a networking and Azure front door. Okay, we'll come back to this. Let's see if your application is provisioned. Deployment is still in progress. The similar way we have to create one another application for our demonstration, and then we'll move after creation of this. We'll move to front door creation. How to create the front door. It's taking time, but okay. Meantime, I can start creating the another web application. Go to the app service, create another application. I am using my existing resource group. The another name is conference 2020 Central US. Uh, CU, for example, and the application has to be with the same runtime stack, because the purpose of um, the front door is to let the user be have the same experience as application is always working, whereas internally we know if there is some fill happen, then it will fill over automatically. Next, monitoring. The rest of the settings would remain same as is, and I think I can go and pass the tag as well, 2020 for example, 2020, and I can directly review and create. So let's see if my first, yes, my first application is provisioned. And let's see the output of this application. This is the URL of this application, and you see the URL of this application is conference 2020 eu.azurewebsites.net. Yes, my application is ready. A little change I'll make in this presentation means here I can add some text so that we can get the difference from where the application is actually executing at the time of when we'll provision the front door. Right? Okay. Going back. Um, I think I have to create that application once again. Add. Yeah, wrongly I just switched the window. Conference 2020 CU. Okay, runtime stack is this thing, and rest of the things will remain same. That's fine. Creating another instance of the application. So this time my application name would be Conference 2020 CU. The earlier one is Conference 2020 EU. So this is for East US, and the newly created would be the Central US. So meantime it is creating, let me open the another instance of it and make certain change in the EU one. So I'm just opening this EU and going a little down below and see deployment tool. Under the deployment tool, there is a app service editor. Click on this, go, and you will get the latest editor available here. You can directly go to your particular code and make the changes because it's a HTML code only. So there would not be a big job. Let it be open. Right, okay. Here, go to the HTML file and I see the content is written somewhere here. Hey app service. So I would say EU. That's it. I'm adding this and my content is saved here. You can see, and I can successfully close this and can try to refresh this page. Right. My EU is the latest amended content is available here. So this will give us the difference when we will intentionally stop one particular application, and we'll see the difference from where that is, request is basically handled. So yeah, my both the applications are now ready. It is a now good time to go to front door service. We are going to create the front door service. There are various ways to create this again. You can go by Azure CLI, you can go by PowerShell, you can go by ARM template. In fact, this is the simplest way to create the front door service. You can log in into the Microsoft Azure account, and either you have this option available here. That's okay. Otherwise, you can go and here and write front door. Click on front door. You will get this blade, and in this blade, either you can go by plus add here, or maybe you can create front door here. Right. Okay. So here it is asking for any resource group and your subscription. My subscription is the platform subscription, and creating the front door, or maybe I can use this one, or maybe I can create a fresh RG front door, the new resource group I've created. And resource location could be any. East US I can keep because my one of the applications is residing in East US, so that's fine. It will work for me. Going to configuration part, this is a very important window and we need to understand, because this is the final crux of creating the front end front door. Here the first step is to create the front end and the domains. So here you need to give the name to your particular front door, which will be really accessible to the end users, because end user after this will not be accessible or will not access to your application's URL, right? Like this. For the end users, these URLs will not be exposed. Only the front door URL will be exposed. So I am writing, and the front door is conference 2020 FD. Let's see if this name is available. Yes, it is available. And it is the session affinity and web application firewall. So I'm sure you people are having bit idea of web application firewall. earlier in advance. And session affinity is maintenance of the session, so that your traffic would continue start coming to the same backend all the time. If you enable it, for example, so what would happen once your caller would come here, automatically this particular, whenever from where the application is getting served, automatically all the requests would start coming here until it's found some error. But by default it's disabled, so let it be disabled as of now, right? And web application file, if you enable, there would be certain other policies has to be written. You have to write the policies first, you have to create the web application firewall first, then the policy name would be appearing automatically here, and then you can utilize it. That is altogether a separate chapter, so I'll not include it as of now. So I'm just going to create an ad. So my front end and the domain name is ready, although that is altogether a separate story when you can configure your custom domain as well, right? Because I don't have any custom domain ready, so I cannot use this here. So I'm going with the Microsoft provided domain name only. Second step is to backend pools. So backend pools is the, when you create on this, and you will find a big blade here where you have to pass the particular name of your backend pool. You can give any name. For example, you can write backend, sorry, backend 2020, something like that. And this name is fortunately available. And the very important part is to add the backend. Now, what is the backend? Backend is nothing but it's a kind of those applications or those application URLs where we wanted to send our request through the front end, right? In my case, there are two already existing applications which we have recently created: Conference 2020 EU and Conference 2020 CU, like this. So there are variety of things you can add as sorry, add as a backend. But because my example is based on the app services, so I would add the app service, and you see by default it has taken one of the names of backend host, and that is up to you which one you wanted to take it first. Both the applications are now listed here, so I'm going with CU first. And this is the HTTP port and HTTPS port, because you see in my presentation, PowerPoint presentation, there is a statement like it supports the HTTP and HTTPS, both type of protocols. And important thing to understand is the priority and the weight. Priority is when you wanted to give a particular weightage to priority to your application, which reason you want to give the priority most, right? So it is the default priority set as 1, and weight is 50, means 50% of load would directly go to this particular priority reason. So let it be as is. I'm not going to make any certain change in this default settings, right? I'm adding this. One backend is already added, but as you know, we need at least two different backends. And again, the same exercise has to be done, but this time we are choosing the another application, which is EU, right? The settings will remain same. That is up to us whether we wanted to make the priority change, weightage change or not. It completely depends on the configuration or administrators who wanted to give the reliability to which region. Fine. So I'm adding it with the same priority. Now we have to go little down and see the health probe. We have been hearing health probe since the beginning of this presentation. Like health probe, what is the health probe? Health probe is a kind of internal inbuilt service which in the background runs after every particular period of time. Or what is that interval is 30-second by default. You can reduce it up, till 5, but um, you can see, you can just make it 5. And you see frequency of health probe. So after every 5 seconds, it would regularly hit to the servers and check for the health of this particular application, right? But some cost could be involved into it. I'm not pretty sure about it. So the default setting is 30. Let it be after 30 seconds, it will reach to the server point of presence every moment, every 30 seconds, and it will check the real health. If the health is little degraded, then immediately it will switch the request to the next another existing standby instance, right? If you talk about the probe are of two type, head and get. If you see here, head and get, head is the default one, and get is generally used when you want the you want the result in the response response body also. See this HTTP method of health probe uses the while querying the backend pool instances you had if you do not need to check the response body. Again, it may lead the load to your services as well. So by default setting is head, let it be as is until you really required the responses in the response body. Now if we talk about the load balancing, that is up to completely, it's customizable. Like sample size is 4, successful sample required is 0, sorry 2, and latency sensitivity is 2. You can increase or decrease the sample size. Sample sets the SS backend availability. It out of the many existences, it will check the sample of 4 different instances at a time. Like if those 4 are available in anything happens wrong or right, then it moves to the next. Otherwise it returns the output from the that existence only. Okay, so I'm adding it. The third very important point is left, which is the routing rule. So because the purpose of the front door is to route, it gives you the routing solution of the various different applications residing in different regions. So we have to add this routing rule as well. Similarly, we have to add a name. Like for example, I would say rule 2020. Let's see if this name is available. Yes. So accepted protocols are HTTP and HTTPS. We have been hearing this for long. So front end domains, my this would take my front end domain name automatically from here because we have only one domain name ready. Pattern to match. Now it's completely up to you. You remember we were talking about the URL routing and specific routing based solutions. So you can define your route. Like for example, last time we were talking about slash login something, right? Like this way. But if you are not writing anything, you are simply saying uh, /* means any of the request would be handled here, right? So because my application is actually very basic and I have created it in front of you, so there is nothing, no logic written for any sort of routing and the separate modules. So I'm leaving it as is. Now route type could be the forwarded and the redirected. Forwarded means it works in the round robin fashion. For example, if my request has come to point A, it will forward next to point B, then C, then D, likewise. And once the D is finished and there is no more available, it will come back to A. Like this way it works. But redirect, you can pass the various different things like found. There are 4 types generally given, and in fact you can also pass the destination path here. Either you can preserve or you can just replace with your own one, right? But this will be a little complex at this stage, so we are leaving it as is for now. Probably we can cover it in some another demonstration some other day. So I'm adding it. My all 3 things are ready, which is primarily required for the front door, and I can review and create. So it may take a couple of seconds. Validation is passed and now it's into initializing deployment process. Now I think I must talk about meantime it is getting ready. And just to add on one thing, once your front door is ready, it may take couple of minutes to get reflected because it would be replicated to the various point of presence. If I say point of presence again, I'll come back to this. So this is the CDN coverage by Metro, and CD wherever the Azure CDN is available, your point of presence is also in the available in the same regions. Here you can see this article. This much of regions are having point of presence, and this much of Microsoft and the vendors. These are the vendors. Verizon and Akamai, right? And this there are certainly few questions may come. So that question is, what are the point of presence locations? So it clearly says wherever your CDN is available, your POP would be available, right? So let's see how soon it is created. My front door is ready. Right, my front door is ready. But when you will click on this, and this is expected because it will take another 3 to 4 minutes to get it be reflected on every region wherever you have just configured it. And once it is ready, you would start using it, and you will get the output of the applications, like you earlier created this application, like this one. You'll get the similar output by, but for the end users, this will not be used anymore, right? So probably we have to wait for some time. And meantime, if I can add you something on this, yeah, this is the front door main documentation page where you can start reading about the what the front door is. And you see there are a quick start. There are 4 ways to create your front door: through the portal, through PowerShell, through CLI, through ARM template. If you are familiar with the ARM template, this is quite easy. And if you go through the portal, it's absolutely easy. And if you go through the CLI, there are certain set of commands uh, you can use and create it. So it is the complete history about the front door, how to create the front door. Very easily you can go and create it. And the concept of load balancing is also there. So many other concepts are there which is directly relevant to front door. So let's see if it is done. And I'm waiting for the moment when it will allow. I don't think so it would be ready such a quick. Yeah, fantastic. You see my URL is the front door URL, not the application URL, right? So the for instance is actually executing from the central US. You remember in East US we have already added this EU as a text, but in central US we have not added anything. So it means when I am executing my front door, it is executing from the central US. And what we can do is, how can we see the advantage of this front door is, I can go to the front the application. Let me go to the application first. I would intentionally stop my central US application, right? One more time I can just try. I'm refreshing it. My request is still being handled from EU. Let me take it from the another browser to the other browser. And let's see from where it is being served. In the Chrome it is being served from the EU, whereas in Microsoft browser it is being served from central US. So it means my both the instances are successfully working. But what I need to do is I will go to my central US instance, and I would stop it intentionally just to uh, replicate the thing, like we have some failure. So my instance, my application is stopped as of now. It should not give me the output central US one. So if I go here and I create it here, so you will get something different here. See this. So my application is stopped. Or maybe I can go to this thing EU. Besides of EU, I can go CU. CU is down, which is expected. I intentionally have done this. So, but it will take little time, right, to get it replicated. Comparatively, it is rather fast. It in 30 or 40 seconds, it will be back with another instance which is working. I mean, the instance which is known as the standby instance. I must get some blue screen saying HTTP 43403 service code. Uh, Although I know it will take 40 seconds minimum, but I'm just trying my best if it could be done on time. And we can check it here too, because this instance is being served from the East US, and there is no uh, failover append, so it won't be affected really. Let me try it again. In fact, you guys may also try to hit this URL because now it is globally available. The way it is behaving for me, it should behave for you too. There is nothing much to just, you have to wait for this.
Vishek,
Yeah.
you have almost crossed your time. So, is there anything else left?
No, no, Ravi, it is the last demonstration. In fact, where it will replicate from CU to EU. That's it.
Okay. Okay. So I think
So,
since how long you will keep this website running? So probably people can try it out after this session.
so I can leave it for another hour or so, or
Okay.
maybe whole the
Okay.
day. Not a problem.
Okay. So for next one day, for next 24 hours, people can see and uh, test this Azure front door example if they want.
Yes. Yes.
There is one question from Divyesh Sharma.
Yes, please.
Louis, can you please put on the screen? It says that Azure front door, is it similar to Ingress in K8's concept wise?
I'm not pretty sure about Ingress, but yeah, Azure Front Door is basically meant for when your particular application is having some problem and it is not executable. So we have replication of really the same application, with various or different regions or various geographical locations. So it will help the users to come out from those problems, like when your application is not working, your application is down. Likewise.
Okay. 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 So I think we are done for the day. Anything else you want to add, Abhishek?
I think I'm done, Ravi, with this demonstration. It should work ideally because it takes 3 to 4 minutes minimum to get replicated. 45 seconds to get replicated on different reasons. And there is some reason because it is not currently answering. Otherwise, it should work. And I have created one YouTube video on this. It's already available on YouTube where it is working fine. Everything is working fine as required.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
So I can stop it here. I'll ask the users to please use this, and if any there is any challenge, and that is my contact details. You can reach me out any moment by any mediums. I'm available always. So my that Jure front end video is also available on this YouTube channel, and Abhi Matre is my. You can reach me on Twitter as well. So these are the details if you wanted to get in touch.
Thanks, Abhishek. Thanks
Thank you.
for this awesome session. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. That was all for today. That was all for our today's session, today's event of local, like our Noida.NET Conference 2020, where we talked about multi-platform Blazor development and using NPM packages in Blazor. You might have heard in my session that I don't like NPM. Typically, I don't know how to use NPM, so that is one of the reason I don't like NPM. But yeah, Nitin told you how to use NPM packages in your Blazor application, so you can use Blazor JavaScript interoperability with NPM packages in your Blazor application. So you learn about that, and then you learn about how to deploy your highly available applications using Azure Front Door. So
Yeah,
that's what that
Ravi.
was all for
Hey,
today.
sorry to interrupt you here. Application started working. It is working fine.
Okay, okay, fine. So people can watch it on the link. So thanks everyone for joining us today. Thanks everyone for joining .NET Conference Noida 2020. Bye
Thank you all.
bye.
Bye.